Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I hope you're all having a great day, as is beautiful out here in Arizona. It's in the mid-70s, which is really nice for us. So today we're going to talk about more maintenance, but not your typical maintenance. We're not talking about greasing my A-arms, greasing wheel bearings, checking brakes, or changing the oil. We're probably going to do two of the most hated and forgotten maintenance items out there. So what do I mean by that? Well, if anyone has ever changed the air filter in your Honda Pioneer, you understand what I mean. I'm going to show you how to do that if you haven't seen it, and show you how I do it and what tools I use to make easier. And then the other one is, well, your spark arrestor. A lot of people don't realize you're supposed to clean it, and they make it serviceable. So I'm going to show you how to do that also. So for those of you wondering, oil change on these things is like every 1,200 miles. I've already ordered my oil change kit with the new filters and oil, and I will be doing that here shortly. I will actually probably drop the skid plate, make sure everything's nice and clean underneath there, clean the skid plate out. So that is an upcoming video. Don't forget to check in on that one. But for this one, we're going to do the spark arrestor and the air filter. For those of you wondering, what do you need to clean your spark arrestor? Well, first of all, let me show you where it's at. So your spark arrestor is right down here. And all you really have to do is take these three bolts off. There's a screen in here that you're going to clean. Now let's talk about those three bolts. Of all the sizes that Honda could have picked, what do you think it was? Well, you guessed it. It's the infamous 10 millimeter. So let me show you what it takes to clean this thing out. It's a really simple job, and I do it every oil change. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to loosen up the three bolts. If you've never done it, they may be a little stuck. You may need a little penetrating oil. So the first thing you're going to do is you get your 10 millimeter and just break everything loose like I have, and just bring it on out. The bolts really aren't very long. As you can see, they used to be, it looks like some thread sealer or something on the end, but they do a lot of heat cycles, so that's why they could get stuck. Constant hot, cold, just like those spark plugs. Take these out. Work it out, and that's it. So this is what your spark arrestor looks like. It's just a mesh screen that goes in the end of your exhaust to keep sparks from coming out the exhaust. It's one of those Forest Service requirements, and they're not too hard to clean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run over. I'm just going to get a metal bristle brush, just clean it up. Mine actually doesn't look bad at all. I've seen them to where they've been caked up before. We actually could like flake stuff off. Well, after about 10 minutes of a little degreaser and a wire brush, and there is the final product. Spark arrestor is actually this part right here. Like I said earlier, it's just these screens. I've actually been stopped in the past, and the Forest Service will take a wire, stick it up the exhaust, and we're looking for this right here. If you don't have that, they will ticket you and make you leave the forest, if not confiscate your ride. Now that you got this cleaned up, which a lot of people don't do, like I said, 10-15 minutes. You don't have to go overboard like I do with the wire brush. You can go ahead and stick it back in. So once you stick it in, you go ahead, you line the holes up, put the bolts back in, and there you go. Once you get everything all cleaned up, get put back on nice and tight. If you want to use some anti-seize, you can. Remember, this just gets hot and cold, so sometimes the bolts will seize up. Make sure you take it out at least every oil change. I got a little wire brush, this little Harbor Freight, 3 for $5. Scraped it off, a little degreaser. Then I went a little bit overboard doing the outside too, but what the heck. Next thing we're gonna do is the air filter, and that's the one piece that everyone seems to hate to do. I don't know why Honda let the designers stick it where they did and how they did to get there. It is not the easiest thing to get to. But if you got the right tools, it makes it a lot easier. Let me show you. So the first thing you need to do is you need to get your air filter kit. So within the kit comes your new air filter, right here, and then new O-rings for the lid. For those of you wondering where the air filter is, remember there is your pre-filter up front under the hood. And from there, It goes all the way down underneath the chassis and back up to the back. So get to the air filter, you gotta pop your bed. So now that you got your bed popped up, the next thing you need to do is take this cover off right here. So this is, I don't know, a beauty panel to cover the air filter. So you have 4 push pins. You got 1, 2, and then 2 on the other side. What I do is I take a screwdriver, just push them in, hear the click, and then pull it out. Be careful you don't push this piece all the way through, because if you lose it, you gotta go buy a new one. Now I've removed my 4 push pins. I got the 2 on the other side. This just pulls down. There's this little piece down here that'll pop up. This goes right down in there. So this is your air filter housing. So we'll move this out of the way. And what you gotta do is there's a hex head in each one of these all the way around to keep it airtight. Now you may be thinking to yourself, that's not that hard to get to. I can get to all those bottom bolts. Those aren't the hard ones to get to. The hard ones are the ones way up on the top. So when taking the bolts out of the air cleaner, I never use power tools. I don't want to strip those bolts because they're going to be a pain to replace. So I have one of 2 tools I like to use. First one is a good old-fashioned T-handle. What I like about the T-handle is it's got a flat bottom. For those of you not familiar, the other one I like to use is this M5. It's got this, so you can get kind of on an angle. The problem with these is if you're not careful, you can end up stripping the bolt head. So once you go ahead and you get everything nice and loose, what you're gonna do is you're just gonna pop this off. This is the gasket that we're gonna replace. And we open up your air filter bag, it comes with 2 new gaskets. Be careful, the rubber's thin and you don't want to ruin it. Now to get the air filter out, come back here, and here is the old air filter. So you go ahead, take your T-handle once again, and twist it out. And this just pops out. And the second gasket that you're going to end up replacing is this one right here. It's down in there. So what you'll end up doing is you'll end up getting a pick, pulling this one out, and putting the new one in. It's not very hard, but we'll go ahead and get that done. While you're in here, if anyone's wondering, these are the intake tubes that go to your throttle bodies. So as the air comes in from the pre-filter, it comes through this air intake here, through the filter, into the air box, into your throttle bodies, down into your engine. So here's the difference between the 2 filters. This filter has 1,150 miles on it. As you can see, there's still a little bit of green down here, but it's nice and dirty and it's doing its job. This filter here is brand new OEM. It comes with the replacement bolt right there. So if you ever did strip out one of your other bolts, you could snag that one right there. Once you get the old gaskets changed out and the old filter out, you can go ahead and you can throw these in the bin, and now it's just time for reassembly. So the first thing that you're gonna do, take the new air filter and just set it in. Then you can go ahead and take your T-handle and just tighten it up. Just snug. Now for the hard part, getting the cover back on. Put the cover back on. This slips over. So I like to start the 4 corners first, and then go back and do the center ones and tighten everything up. So once you get the cover on nice and tight, remember, don't over tighten it, just snug. The last thing to do is put the beauty cover back on. When you have your clips like this, all you have to do is just carefully push them back up, and right there. So then you just take this cover, put it on, put your heat shielding in, push it on, take your clip, push it flat. Remember, you have to do all 4 of them. And there you have it. It's only 5 or 6 minutes to clean the spark arrestor. Now I went a little bit overboard. I cleaned the inside and the outside, but the real goal is to make sure that screen is nice and clean. There's no debris and no buildup on it. Put it back on. It's now 15 or so minutes to change your air filter if you got the right tools. I recommend you buy the right tools. It's only a few dollars for a 5mm T-handle or extension for your ratchet to go ahead and do that. For what you're going to spend on that tool will save you loads in the long run if you plan on keeping your Pioneer for a long time, because you're not going to have to pay the dealership to do it, or you're not going to be fighting with little Allen wrenches. While you're at it, don't forget to clean that pre-filter that I showed you in previous videos. Just take some soapy water, rinse it out, let it air dry before you put it back in. Don't forget to give me a big thumbs up if you liked the video. Don't forget to subscribe, and until next time.